Hi everyone, my name is Wei Shan and I'm the database architect from the Alibaba Database Product Group. Today I'm going to be sharing with you some of our features for Apsara DB for PolarDB. At the start of the demo, I'm going to run sysbench, a OLTP point select queries against my PolarDB cluster, and it started running. It's doing around 400-ish. I've also created the PolarDB instance. So this DB instance sits in the Singapore region, whereas I'm running the sysbench off my laptop. So we're not really doing a performance benchmark here. Rather, I'm just trying to show you what kind of features and the amount of engineering that we've put behind PolarDB itself. This PolarDB cluster is a 2-core 8 GB of memory, and I've loaded it with some data from sysbench, as you can see. So let's go in and take a look. One of the features of PolarDB is that we can create a cluster endpoint that does the read-write splitting for you automatically. So for a simple application like sysbench, we don't really have to modify it to connect to an endpoint for write queries and another endpoint for read queries. Without modifying your application itself, you can actually do load balancing across the multi-nodes of a PolarDB cluster. So in this cluster, by default, we have 2 instances running, a primary node and a read-only node. If we go into the monitoring itself, you can see that the load is being split across 2 nodes itself. The read-only queries, the OLTP point select, is being split evenly across the primary node and the read-only node. And one thing that is cool is that we actually allows you to do per second monitoring for free. You can also check out the CPU and the memory. You can see that the queries has hit as high as 100, but because from the sysbench itself, you can actually see that it's doing about 400. But here, because it's splitting across 2 nodes, so you should see that it's only doing about 200 each. There you go. Another feature of PolarDB is elasticity. So we allow you to add or remove nodes on the fly. So right now I'm going to try to add a node in to the cluster. Let's say you have a big important sale like Double 11, like for us, for Alibaba we have Double 11, and right before the day itself, what we spin up 15 other read-only nodes to prepare for the event, and once the event is completed, we can probably just downsize it. So this makes you don't have to really buy like back in the old days where you buy it up, configure it. So on the fly itself, you can add or remove node. This is really easy, and that's why we say it PolarDB from scratch, just for cloud itself. Let me refresh. Right now, we can see that a read-only node of the same specifications has been in creating mode. So we're trying to create a read-only node on the backend. About the cluster endpoint is that we could actually create our own cluster endpoint. So what you could do is you can create maybe a 3-node read-only cluster and create a cluster endpoint for it. Add it to the selected nodes. Select the nodes and put it in, and then create a cluster endpoint just for your read-only query. So you could technically serve your analytics workload off PolarDB. And because of how PolarDB is designed with PolarFS as a distributed file system, this could really be really fast for your real-time read queries as well. Let me just check the status of the creation. That is still adding a node. Usually it takes about a minute or 2 to create the node, and It's not being done yet. So, but once it's being created, you can actually see the new node being added to the monitoring screen itself as well. And then you should be able to see that the queries will be evenly split up across the 3 nodes. Let's go back to the overview. Right, so now it's done on the backend side. So now we're just waiting for the read-only node to start serving read-only queries. So right now you can actually see that the read-only node, the new one, has been added to the monitoring screen. If you refresh a bit, it should start serving the read-only queries coming in. I'll probably go to the node itself. I think this is the latest node. So as you can see, it's starting to start serving the read-only queries. So as time goes by, the new queries coming in will be flow over to the new read-only node. Let me go back to the cluster. Right, so assume that, for example, double 11 day has passed. Now we want to scale down. You can just remove the node. You want to, yep. I want to delete the node. Confirm. If you do a refresh, we should see that the node is being releasing at the moment. And all this while we are doing the node configuration, there's actually no break. It doesn't feel anything. Like all the applications still start connecting in, because all this is handled at the proxy layer itself. So you can scale up, scale down, increase the number of nodes, reduce it, all on the fly without your end users feeling anything at all. The node has been removed. Just going to wait for the cluster to register the new properties. Right now the node has been removed. Next, we're going to try to do a manage failover. For some reasons, maybe you have to do some kind of maintenance work or patching or whatsoever. You can do a manage failover process. So let's change to the read-only node to become the new master. Confirm, perform the switchover, and it's in state. The status is in switching right now. We'll wait for the sysbench to disconnect. Because sysbench doesn't allow auto reconnection, so after it fails, I have to do it manually to simulate a reconnection. So just keep trying to rerun the select only queries. Still failing. It's about 5 seconds now. And it's done. Back to the normal transactions per second as well. If you do a refresh on the page, you'll see that the status is still switching, but the backend is already serving the new queries. So our backend, let's do a refresh again, and the node has successfully failover and registered on the front end. Do know that all this while, this has been serving read-only queries ever since. With that, thank you very much for your attention. I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a good day. Bye.